Okay, this is Rich Willey interviewing or hanging out with Dave Stryker on Zoom. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Rich, how you doing, buddy?
I am remarkable. Today's
All right.
December 8th, 2020. You got me up nice and early, 10:30 in the morning. I can tell you're more of an early riser than I am, Dave.
Yes, I am.
So, Dave, you don't know what we're going to talk about, and neither do I, tell you the truth. But I do think it's interesting that many years ago, Leslie Peacock was trying to get you and me together to play together. And I don't know if you remember any rumblings about that back in the day.
You mentioned that to me before, and of course I remember fondly Leslie Peacock, but um, you know, I might have lost a few brain cells along the way, so I'm not sure if I remember exactly. Well, I don't know if we might have met,
I
back
think
in
we
the.
did because
Yeah,
I sent you a picture of a business card that I had of yours that you said had to be from mid 80s.
yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. I don't remember getting it from you. But I mean, I was all over the place back then, so who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, no, so I've known about you for a long time. And then I first encountered you in person at the Abersold camps. Got to hear you play for a week, and I guess
Right.
that was 2018. So talk a little about how you got involved with the Abersold camps, if you don't mind.
Well, I started it when I was in 1977, I think. In '78, I went to Jamie Abersold's camp. I was from Omaha, Nebraska, and I went. Somebody knew about them, and they were in Wichita, Kansas. So a few of us drove down there, and it was a pretty amazing experience. The first year, I believe, uh, Woody Shaw was there, and Thad Jones, and all these people. James Williams, I remember, and it was my combo teacher was Rufus Reed, so he was. I remember him writing the chord changes to "Maiden Voyage" on a blackboard, and there's a guitar player named Jack Peterson who was the kind of an infamous jazz guitar instructor, and it was just a great experience. First time I'd ever heard of a 251, and he used to sell LPs there, and I bought. I remember buying Horace Silver, Cape Verdean Blues, and Grant Green. I Want to Hold Your Hand. So it was and then I loved it so much. The next summer we went back, and this year I'd gotten a little better in the meantime, and I got into the top band, which happened to be Joe Henderson's combo. So Joe Henderson was my leader. So I met Jamie and Dan Hurley and Ed Soph and David Baker, all those guys when I was that young man. And then flash forward many years, fast forward. Um, always followed my career and stuff. And whenever I was on a tour with my group or something, he would book something in Louisville for us or help us to get some gigs. And then later, I don't know, I guess about 15, at least 15 years ago, maybe 20. No, 15 probably. He just called me up and asked if I wanted to start teaching there, and so I said sure. Um, so I kind of came into education after being a player, for a long, long time, and but I enjoyed doing the workshops, and I had already had a book out, or I was in the process of having a book out, and but so that's how I ended up there, and I've met a lot of people there. In fact, that's where I met Pat Harbison and Tom Walsh, who eventually asked me to come on as the guitar instructor at Indiana University. So, and then since then I'm now at Rutgers as well and at Montclair State. So that's kind of how I got into teaching on the university level is through the Abersol workshop. So it's been a great, lifelong connection to Jamie and the workshop.
So that's cool because I found out David Mann had gone to Abersold camp in I think it was '79 during the summer. I
Wow.
went the winter of that year in Dallas where they had the ice storm, and yeah, man, it shook me up. I didn't know what a 2.5 was. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you dropped a whole bunch of names, man. So I want you to drop some more names, man. I know you've toured with some heavyweight cats, man. Just tell us a few of those.
Well, I after I was in Omaha till I was in a started out playing rock and then got into jazz in high school, and then I got into a band. I was in a band that worked a lot, and we played in. We had a 6 night a week gig for 6 months, or excuse me, six nights a week, 6 week run at the Hilton, top of the Hilton, playing standards the first 2 sets and top 40 the second 2 sets. So I was getting a lot of experience playing, and I got to the point where I wanted to, I had to make a move. So I ended up going to L.A. for a couple of years, and then ended up visited a buddy of mine in New York and realized that I should be in New York. So I moved to New York in 1980. And I had met Jack McDuff at Jimmy Smith's Supper Club out in L.A. Jimmy Smith had a club, and every Monday night was a jam session, and I was always there, and met a lot of people there. And Jack told me to look him up if I ever come to New York. So when I got to New York, I went up to Harlem to the Lickety Split Lounge, and I sat in with Jack. And at that time, believe it or not, Steve Slagle was playing saxophone along with Tim Whalen in the band. And a little while later, Jack called me up and asked me to join the band, and I was with Jack on the road for 2 years. And that was quite a great gig because, Jack had previously in his band Grant Green, George Benson, and Pat Martino. So when I got in the band, he finally was able to get a good guitar player. So that worked out well. Uh,
You're so modest.
and of course, any guitar players that are listening would know how much I'm kidding about that, because
Right, right, right.
of course that was the hot seat.
Yeah,
Here's a
man.
guy to imagine a guy hearing that, all that great guitar. You really had to step up to the plate and play with a lot of soul and a lot of feeling, and not be BSing. So
And he kept you for 2 years, so you must have risen to the occasion.
yes, I enjoyed it, and the great drummer Joe Dukes was also in the band at that time, so it made it even extra special because Joe was the drummer with Jack in the '60s when he had all his hits and popularity with Benson and stuff, and all those guys, Grant Green and Pat Martino. So. When we weren't on the road, we had a steady 4 night a week gig, Thursday through Sunday, at Dude's Lounge on 149th and St. Nicholas, and we would play from 10 to 4 in the morning, 4 nights a week. So all kinds of guys came through there. George Benson, had to play in front of him one night, and that was quite an experience. And Lou Donaldson, Lonnie Smith, Stanley Turrentine, Tommy Turrentine, all the cats would come by, and that's where I met Stanley originally, and then a buddy of mine, Greg Scaff, was playing with Stanley, and he couldn't make a gig, so he sent me on it, and that's the kind of music I'd been listening to my whole life, those CTI records. So I knew all of Stanley's music, and Stanley's manager came up to me after the first gig and said, Stanley wants to start using you on some gigs.
Nice.
So that's how I got the gig, and I ended up playing with Stanley for over 10 years. So yeah, I've been super lucky to get that experience of getting to play with some of the masters while they were still alive, and very grateful for that. And the while with Jack, for instance, Jimmy Smith would come in. I got to play with him, and with Stanley, I got to play with Freddie Hubbard and Dizzy Gillespie and all these people, all my heroes. So. Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and all the time when I wasn't on the road with Stanley, I was living in New York and working and writing my own tunes and playing with guys, and a lot with Steve Slagle, and made a couple records, demos, to try to get a record deal, and didn't have any luck. But I went over to Japan with Stanley and gave my cassette to a club owner over there, and he had a small label, so he put out my first record in 1988. It was recorded, and I had Billy Hart and Ron McClure and Mark Copeland and Steve Slagle on that. So after that, Nils Winter at Steeplechase, a Danish label, he liked that recording as well, and he signed me on, and I ended up recording for 20 years with Steeplechase, doing at least one record a year, which allowed me to do all kinds of writing and different projects, from trio to big band. It was really a great experience. And after that, after about 20 years of that and other labels as well, I started my own label about 10 years ago, Strike Zone Records, and that's been doing pretty well.
Well, the name of the Japanese club owner who started a record company?
His name was Mo Shigenobu Mo Mori.
Okay.
And the club was called Someday. And he had a small label. He put out a Steve Grossman record and Bobby Watson, people he liked.
So you still have copies of that?
I do.
I'll have to order some stuff from you.
I have a copy of that, I think. This is the first one.
And that's you?
Yeah.
Whoa. Well, age has definitely helped your looks, man. No, I'm only serious. Yeah, man. Yeah, it looks like Frank Zappa to me, but I couldn't really see through the cellophane.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty amazing. So, yeah, man. I'm wowed, because I thought I knew something about you, but I sure didn't know everything about you.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been a long time, and I know you were in New York as well, and we crossed paths maybe on a gig or two, maybe a wedding or something along the way. I can't even, we talked about this before, but
yeah,
our memories got a little clouded there, and but
well, I was playing a lot of valve trombone and bass trumpet, so if you remember any valve trombone or bass trumpet players, that might have been me.
Well, and we and then we then in the last year or two we've reconnected, and I was happy to be a part of your project.
Yes.
Recorded. Yeah.
This one.
There it is.
Maybe people can see it. And I tell you what, we took a couple of pictures, and I was going to talk to you about this beforehand, because you told a joke, or you said something that made us laugh, and everybody was laughing too hard. I think we might have used that picture on the inside with everybody just breaking down laughing. You couldn't see anybody's face because we were all just keeled over laughing. But this guy, Dave Stryker, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the funniest people. And that's when the trouble started.
That's true.
That
was my running joke during that time.
It was. And you kept coming up with them. I want to see if my memory is correct, if it's on the inside or everybody's breaking up. I don't think that was like the height of the moment of hysteria. Yeah. But you just cracked us up, man. I don't know how you do it.
Well, we were down in where were we again? In South Carolina or North Carolina? I forget.
Pittsburgh, North Carolina, at Manifold Recording Studio.
Okay, right.
So I know you've done thousands of sessions in your life. I suspect that might have been something a little different for you. I'd like to hear your impressions of what you experienced when you walked into that.
Well, that was, you did it right. You had us all come down, and I think we did, what did we do, 2 or 3 days? I forget.
It was 3 days total.
It was a nice studio down there, and you kind of hand-picked your group, and I knew, of course, Bobby Floyd. I've done quite a bit of playing and recording with him. Byron Landham, the same thing, from Philly. Mike Boone, I'd heard of, the great bass player from Philly. And then the other guys were L.A., your buddies from L.A. that I was meeting for the first time. So
right, Dan and Wally. Yeah,
it was a good experience. A little different way of recording than I'm used to, which was they had it was quite planned out. I forget what you call it, with
the prelays, right? The structure, right?
Yeah.
But to me, it was amazing because he would put on the prelay and everybody would play, and everybody got it immediately. It's like
Yeah.
the first takes could have been usable, but we ended up calling those rehearsal takes, and then we did a second take, which was pretty much what's on the CD.
Right.
Yeah,
So it was and you wrote some really good music, a lot of good music, and
appreciate
it was
that.
on a little more on the funky side of things, a lot of it, and it was interesting to hear Byron, playing that kind of a record date. And I always like to, I'm always down for whatever, if it's good music, it's good music.
Well, I had
So
to
yeah,
switch it.
it was a nice experience, and I think you got a really good record out of it.
Oh man, I tell you what, I was thrilled with the way it turned out. I remember Wally was trying to twist your arm to do a super electrified solo on the tune Adrenaline Rush, and you were somewhat reluctant to do it, but you stormed in there and you did it. And you said, "I'm not doing it again." It was you killed it, man. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I'm not a, I, I'm not a. There's other guys that do that a lot better than me.
Ah,
But I,
I don't think it could
I
have.
came out of rock and roll, so I mean, it's like I know how to do it. It's just that not, not really my specialty or anything. But
Right, right.
I think hopefully you got something you liked.
Oh man, you acquitted yourself admirably. No, I'm so happy with it. And
Great.
we did pretty well on the charts there for a while. I was watching. This came out either right before or right after your 8-track 3 came out, and I was watching your uh, what do you call it? The charts. I mean, you did great with that, man. Hopefully, you
Yeah,
made some money.
I really did well with the 8-track 3. Is I've done this project called 8-track for which is where I take tunes from the '70s and put my own arrangements on them, and with I
Yeah,
have my organ trio with a vibraphone of Stefan Harris,
right.
and it's been pretty popular because of when people hear a tune that they recognize, they it kind of brings them into your sphere,
Yeah.
and I think that's a good thing. It's spread some positivity out into the world, which we can definitely use.
Well,
And
Ellis Marsalis was quoted as saying, "People don't know what they like." Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, people don't know what they like. People like what they know. If people knew what they liked, they would have to know everything. And I
yeah,
thought that was really profound and brilliant. And you're. I think I bought 8-track 3 from you personally at the Aebersold camp. I could be wrong on that, but I do have it, and I listen to it a lot, man. And yeah, I remember all those tunes when they were out on the radio.
yeah,
Yeah,
and they're great melodies. We're talking about like Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye and Curtis Mayfield, Earth, Wind and Fire, all those kind of tunes that were so great in the '70s, and it's been a lot of fun. Fun project to do that. It's a good challenge to try to figure out a way to take those tunes and turn them into something we can improvise over, uh, and do it and not be corny.
yeah, and you chose tunes with good, solid melodies, good chord progressions. So it's fun to blow on, and
Yeah,
they all feel good.
yeah. Some of them, if they didn't have chord progressions, I would figure out a way to maybe add some harmony to them so that make it a little more interesting.
Right.
Yeah. So that was a lot. That's a fun project, but I had a lot of success with that one. That went to #1 for 6 weeks.
On
Some
Jazz Week.
yeah, on Jazz Week Radio,
Yeah.
and then the last one they just put out this year. It was called Blue Soul. It was a big band project with Bob Mintzer and the WDR Big Band, and that one also went to #1 for 3 weeks. So I'm happy about that.
Now, did Bob write all the charts for you on that one? There you
And
go.
Bob did write all the charts. It was about half of my originals and half of the some of the 8-track things that we'd done. And Bob had been a guest with my group on some festivals and a couple of tours we did. So, and I'd known him for years, and he's one of the best musicians out there. So he thought he's the chief conductor of the WDR big band in Germany, and he thought that would be my music would be a good fit for them. Trying to maybe do some of the 8-track stuff, and they put on a. We did about 2 or 3 concerts and recorded for 2 or 3 days in the studio. They rehearse in. It's a full-time
Yeah.
state-funded big band. They also have 2 orchestras at WDR in Cologne, Germany, and it's kind of amazing. All these top-notch players, mostly European guys, a few Americans.
Is
Um,
Carolina Strassmeyer still in there?
yeah, she's
Yeah.
a alto player.
I used to do gigs with her in New York. She's great,
Yeah,
man.
great player,
Yeah.
and they they come to work every day, like a regular job,
Right.
and who's ever the guest that week, they just put the music in front of them, and we had time to work it out, and it was a great experience. So I asked him, I said, I really want to put this out on my label, so we worked it out, and that was a project I put out during this time. Uh, Seemed like a good time to put out some music, so put some positive energy out there with all that's going on.
Well, that's good, man. So, as far as marketing, I know CD Baby of all people, they're not selling CDs anymore, man. Are you doing it all direct through your website? How are you doing it?
Well, I'm not quite sure how that works, except that I usually go through disc makers as my manufacturer, and then
Right.
they go through CD Baby, which is like a middleman now that just uh, hooks you up with the different distributors who you decide to go with. And for several years, I was not putting my stuff on Spotify, but recently I've been putting it all on Spotify just because my son, who's in his late 20s, informed me that that's how people listen to music now. So you might as well get with it. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunate the way the music has gone as far as trying to make money selling records. It's the rug's been pulled out, but we keep doing what we do, and we just because we want to record and document our music, and so I'm going to keep doing it.
So
And
let's.
people say CDs are going away, but on certain gigs, people will still buy CDs, and uh, there's still people out there. I'm one of them. I have a CD player up, a Bose CD player up in my kitchen that I listen to all my stuff on, uh, and uh, and also radio. Radio still wants physical CDs. So
Right. Right. Well, I saw you also in January at the Jazz Congress, and I don't know about you, but I sure learned a lot about the industry up there. Uh, I had no idea that there's not a single manufacturer still making CD players. Did you realize that?
uh, not even Bose.
Well, they might be. My
Well, yeah. I mean,
I have a son-in-law whose dad worked for Bose. I could ask him.
I'm hoping that you could go on the internet and still get one. If not, I better
Oh
order one.
yeah, yeah. Go to eBay. You can get CD players all over the place, boom
Yeah,
boxes, whatever. Yeah, yeah.
maybe
But like
maybe a
car
couple 8-track
manufacturers.
players while we're at it.
Yeah, my first stereo was an 8-track player. That's
Oh,
so
good.
funny. Yeah. I got it by mowing lawns.
Nice.
Yeah, man. In fact, I was the only kid in my class. I remember there was a guy down the street who had a 4-track player, and I got an 8-track player. And I was telling him, "Oh man, tape is superior to vinyl because vinyl, you hear all the scratches and pops and clicks and stuff. So you get 8-track tape, you don't hear all that." But I was alone.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, except that they would skip tracks, and
Right.
they had a
It
lot of.
fade out and pop and then fade back in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they had technical problems, but it was the
yeah,
first time you could play a tape in your car.
that's right.
Yeah.
Most of the time it wouldn't bounce or anything. Yeah, some of them did. Well, Dave, this is great, man. I don't know. I don't really have anything else to ask. You've wowed me with information.
Well,
Uh,
it's great. Thanks for asking me to come on and chat. And I know you're interviewing a bunch of the guys from the record, so
well, I'm trying to. So
that's a
far,
great
it's
idea.
John Swana, who I'm surprised you hadn't worked with Swana before.
No, he's I just know him, you know.
Philadelphia cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a heavyweight. Now, David Mann, do you ever work with him in New York?
Uh, I think he came in and played on a project I was producing one time. But we don't play. We haven't played too many gigs together. No. But
Yeah,
he's what a great player.
I tell you what, he's really remarkable. I have done a pandemic project myself, and I used both John Swana and David Mann on it. And
Nice.
when I'm done with it, I'll send you an MP3 or two.
Would love to hear it.
Yeah, man. So the only question that I asked those guys, that I told them that I was going to ask them was, tell me something about yourself that you wish an interviewer would ask you that they never ask you because they're too busy trying to impress everybody with their brilliance, which I hopefully nobody thinks I'm brilliant today.
Boy, I haven't had that much problem with interviewers. They always seem, these are all good questions to me. What I wish they would ask. I don't have like a pet peeve against writers or anything.
Okay.
I I'm trying to think if I could think of anything, but
Well, John
you know,
Swana was saying he wished that he had remembered to thank his parents more, his mom and his dad, for the help that they gave him getting started.
yeah, yeah, I would go along with that. My
Were your
father.
parents influential? Were they musically
Well, my
inclined?
father was. It's funny because this time of year always reminds me. My father loved that record, Duke Ellington, Nutcracker Suite.
Oh yeah,
So I have the LP sitting right over here, and he kind of. I think he liked it. Just the same thing we're talking about with all the 8-track, people recognizing a melody, and then done differently. So he knew those, Tchaikovsky themes,
yeah.
but then he heard him, Ellington swinging them, and I think he would play that for me, and so remember that one he got me, and also I remember he got me uh, Ramsey Lewis' Sun Goddess,
Oh yeah.
which is funny because that's it's
That
full
was like
circle.
that was
That's
like almost Earth, Wind, and Fire.
it was Earth, Wind and Fire with
It's a
Ramsey
great
Lewis.
album, man.
But yeah, so but, I mean, he wasn't super musical. He sang in a barbershop quartet, believe it or not, and he was an MD. And my mom was just they were both very supportive. So I would go along with John Swana that we got to thank our parents for and when they saw me, that I had so much interest in music that and was already gigging and making money and stuff in high school. So they did not push me in any way. They kind of let me do what I wanted to do, and so I appreciate that.
Well, cool, man. Well, I guess we're good.
All right. Well,
Striker,
thanks, Rich.
Dave.
Great to see you.
I'm
Great to
I'm
see
gonna
you.
I'm gonna hit end, and then it'll convert it into a recording, and I'll send you a link. All right.
Sounds great.
All right, Dave Stryker. God bless you, man. By the way, hold up your new CD again. You and Bob Mintzer and WDR. All right, and it's called, I can't read it,
Blue Soul.
Blue Soul, and it's on the Strike Zone label.
It is, but you can get it at davestryker.bandcamp.com. That's the easiest place to get downloads, or my website, davestryker.com.
All right. Well, I hope people do, man, because you're a hell of a talented guy, and you made our session. I mean, the session was fun anyway, but you absolutely made it way more fun.
All
So,
right. Well,
all right.
I
Great
hope
work.
hope we get to play again soon.
All right, Dave. God bless, man. Love you.
Bye bye.
All right. See ya.